Hi guys. Okay, so let's start. Let's hear your singing. Right, let's make sure the volume is up and working.
God can do anything, anything at all. God can do anything, anything at all. Nothing is too big for him and nothing is too small. God can do anything, anything at all. Don't put him in a box, don't shove him in a corner. Don't you limit what he can do. Don't put him in a box, don't shove him in a corner. Don't you limit what he can do. God can do anything, anything at all. God can do anything, anything at all. Nothing is too big for him and nothing is too small. God can do anything, anything at all. Don't put him in a box, don't shove him in a corner. Don't you limit what he can do. Don't put him in a box, don't shove him in a corner. Don't you limit what he can do. God can do anything, anything at all. God can do anything, anything at all. Nothing is too big for him and nothing is too small. God can do anything, anything at all. Don't put him in a box, don't shove him in a corner. Don't you limit what he can do. Don't put him in a box, don't shove him in a corner. Don't you limit what he can do. God can do anything, anything at all. God can do anything, anything at all. Nothing is too big for him and nothing is too small. God can do anything, anything at all. Don't put him in a box, don't shove him in a corner. Don't you limit what he can do. Don't put him in a box, don't shove him in a corner. Don't you limit what he can do. Yeah, yeah.
Sings. You need a lot of puff for that one, don't you? Right. The bare necessities. Quite like this one because it's so relevant in our house, with my girls especially. Want to be glued to your tablets and your phone? Well, let's forget about tablets and phones and think about what the real necessities in life are. So the bare necessities are know your tablets and your phones. Right, bare necessities. What book? Instead of turning to our tablets, what book should we turn to? And we'll find all the answers. Isaac, the Bible. Right. Here it is. Let's do children sing it right through first, and the adults will sing the second bit. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, glitch 3, 2, 1. Right, the countdown to what? The countdown to what? Dennis. Jesus coming back. So why do we not count 1? We counted 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and we didn't get to 1. Why, Isaac? Because he hasn't come back, and that's when he'll come back. How good are you? We'll sing it first. We'll sing it first. I'm generous. We'll sing it first. Right, okay, yes, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Why did you not say that when you're doing it? Well done. Right, all together then from Matthew. From Matthew, you ready? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrew, James, 1 Peter, 2 Peter, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, Jude, Revelation. Memory verse, memory verse. Who can say it? Right. Let's say it once, then we're going to learn the next verse. That was just to kind of really set in. Right, ready? Guys? Ready? Nice and quiet? Let's say it through once, then we'll learn a bit of the next one. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. Right, and the next part, the next verse says, we'll just learn that. In all your ways acknowledge him. Right? Nice and easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. In all your ways acknowledge him. Story time. Right, so Samson, we're going to find out something about Samson very, very quickly so we can get a bit of a quiz in. So Samson grew up to be a bit of a boy, and he's probably like maybe some of you young boys in here today. He was maybe, well, he came to be a bit of a boy, and it was time for him to get a girlfriend. So maybe like you, Joseph, have you got a girlfriend? Or don't tell me that's your mum's here. Tell me later. Right, it was time for him to get a girlfriend. He was maybe that age. I don't know, he's quite an age. He looks quite old there, and the kind of picture gives it away. But anyway, at this time, the children of Israel, God's people, the children of Israel, because they'd done wrong, because they hadn't been obeying his word and obeying him, they were under the rule of the Philistines. And so there was the Israelites, and Samson was one of them, and there was the Philistines, and the Philistines were leading or ruling them at that point in time. But this was going to be God. God was going to start to use Samson to change that and to bring about a bit of a change. And it's maybe a strange set of circumstances, but amazing how we see God working in it all. And so Samson went down to a place called Timnath, and there he saw a lovely girl, a lovely lady.
Is that lady or is that
That there?
Yeah.
That's a lady.
That looks like a boy. Long hair.
Dennis, you need to come a wee bit closer to the screen, I think. That's a lovely lady, and she was really lovely. She was beautiful, especially in Samson's eyes. Because Samson went down and he saw this lady, and he was really, really impressed with her. He really, really liked her, and so he decided, that's going to be my wife, that's going to be my girlfriend, that's going to be my wife, I'm going to marry her. And so in those days, and kind of similar sometimes to what happens today, he went back up to his parents, and maybe there's Manoah, a man called something Noah, Benny. There's Manoah and his wife, that's Samson's mum and dad. He says, oh, listen, mum and dad, I tell you what, I went down to Timnath, I went down amongst the Philistines, I went down there and I saw a really, really nice girl and I want to marry her. And so I want you to get and arrange a marriage, I want to marry this girl. Well, I don't know, what do you think? We've got the children of Israel and we've got the people of the Philistines, and God's people are the children of Israel, and the Philistines are ruling over them, so to speak, because the Israelites have not been doing what God wanted them to. And so the Philistines were a bit of an enemy to God's people. And all the way through the Bible, we read about the Philistines and being an enemy to God's people. So do you think it's a good idea that Samson picked a girl from the Philistines to be his wife? I think that's a good idea. Because he had lots of people that were of the children of Israel. There was lots of people from the same tribes, the same tribe as he was, or similar of the church. Do you think it was a good idea for him to go down amongst the enemy to pick out a girl to be his wife? No, probably not. And well, as you'll all discover at one point, but your parents are always right. Well, yes, your parents are always right. You don't think that. Sophie, can you stop howking? Right. Your parents are always right. And well, Samson's parents said, I don't think this is a good idea, Samson. Why are you going down to the Philistines? Why are you going to pick a wife from amongst the Philistines? I don't think that's a good idea. Samson says, I really like her, and that's what I want. And so that's what was going to happen. Well, we only know it now because we can read right to the end of the story, but we'll find out that this was the start of God actually working, and it was going to be a start of Samson helping the people of God. So, well, this was going to be a wedding. Samson was going to get married to this person, this lady from Timnath, from down in the Philistines. And so he went down with his mum and dad to see this girl and to meet the girl, and he was soon to be married to her. Well, on the way down, and well, he looks a bit older in that picture, but maybe if you think of yourself and you're away walking with your mum and dad in the park, and they're on the path, staying to the path. How boring is the path in the park when you've got trees that you can swing on and you've got dens that you can find? How boring is the path? Boring? No? Yeah, can be sometimes. Well, Samson, he maybe thought the path was boring, and sticking with his mum and dad was maybe pretty boring too. So he maybe wandered over, and he wandered down into the vineyard where the vines were, where all the grapes were. What was he not to drink? Wine. Where'd you get wine from? Yeah, I think he was a bit of a boy and just liked to push the boundaries a little bit, like some of you in here like to push the boundaries a wee bit. Well, he wandered down at the vineyard, and when he was in the vineyard, he heard a tiger. A lion. He heard a lion. The Bible tells us it was a young lion, And I'm not so sure. Maybe Robert knows from his time in Botswana and whatnot, but apparently a young lion's a bit more ferocious when it's looking for its food than an older lion. And he says maybe a young lion, well, the lion maybe had a good old roar at him and thought, dinner time. Dinner time. Who'd like to face up to a lion like that? No. What would you do? I know what I would do. I'd run a mile. I'd run as fast as I could, although it'd probably catch up with me and still gobble me up, but at least if I was running, I wouldn't see it coming. Well, not Samson. Not Samson. What does it look like Samson's doing here? Samson's fighting the lion, he is. And the Bible tells us that Samson, you can see him, he's really strong. Samson pulled the jaws of the lion apart. And the lion hardly touched him, didn't touch him at all, and he killed the lion. What happens when you go to the zoo? Where's the lions? In a cage. Why are they in a cage? They have sharp teeth, very sharp teeth. And they like to eat people, probably. They like to eat meat. They're a meat eating. So they're behind bars and cages and whatever else so they can't get to you. Well, Samson, he faced up to the lion and he killed the lion. It tells us that he killed it as if it was just a wee goat. Imagine, what would you rather face? If you had to face somebody in a fight, would you rather a wee billy goat or would you rather a big lion? I think you've got more of a chance against a wee goat, although it might give you a sore one with its horns. Well, Samson killed the lion just as if it was like a little goat. He killed it and he left it lying by the side of the road and he went down to Timnath with his mum and dad and they met this girl and they went away back home again and they made all the plans and it was time to go back to the wedding. The wedding was all set up and they're going to have a great big feast and they decided to go back. Now, as they were wandering back down the road again, Samson remembered about this lion that he'd killed. Now, it must have been a few weeks in between because when he went back to the lion, although the picture doesn't really show it, but when he went back to the lion, I think the birds and the animals, it's a kind of, we've been watching a bit of, what do you call it, Sophie? Frozen Planet and the likes, and you see all the other animals, once one's dead, all the other animals come and feed off it, and you just end up with a carcass and some bones and whatnot. I think there'd be more just bones and rather than a big furry lion. Anyway, when Samson went back, he remembered that he'd killed this lion, and he wandered back in to see where it was, and when he went to see where it was, the Bible tells us that in its carcass, in its bones, inside the lion was bees. And not only bees, what's this? Honey. So inside the lion was bees and honey. And Samson took the honey. That's why I think it would just be a carcass, because you wouldn't want to go and take a scoop of honey out of its blood and guts if there was still half a lion there. So I think it would just be a carcass and just the bones. But the bees were there and they were making honey and Samson took a big scoop. Now, he just faced a lion. What's quite scary about that picture there? What did we do a couple of Saturdays ago when we went to see Graham's bees? Yeah, we had to stand well back because the bees were buzzing about and getting out the hive. Well, what do you do when you see a bee?
Run.
Who said run? Yeah, 9 times out of 10. And probably some of this as well. To get it away? No. You freeze. It's a good idea to freeze. Yeah, because they'll not bother you, but when you start frustrating them and try to swipe them, then they get angry. Well, no fear. No fear. Would you like to, Sophie, would you like to put your hand in Graham's hives? No, with all those bees? No, I don't think I would either. Well, Samson, right in, scoop of honey out, and he ate it, and it was really nice, it was really sweet, it was beautiful. And he took some, and he took it back to his mum and dad. He hadn't told his mum and dad they'd killed a lion, and he hadn't told them where he got this honey from, because what was a lion? Dead. And what was Samson really not supposed to do? He was a rascal, wasn't he? He was a rascal. So, he took the honey and he gave to his mum and dad, and he didn't tell them what had happened or where it came from either. And so they went down and it was time for the wedding, it was time for the celebrations. Now, as was the custom in those days, it was given 30 men to keep him company, and they had a big feast. And during the feast, they maybe had a bit of singing and dancing, and they ate loads and whatever else. But then there was a time where, as a bit of entertainment, Samson gave them a riddle. Who knows what a riddle is? Hannah. That's what you put soil through. No? What's a riddle? You don't know if you could explain it. Penny? A fake story? Sophie?
So it's something like this. What is in the corner of an envelope and travels the world? So it's basically your answers.
You don't know how to describe. That's a good example. It's a bit of a story, it's a bit of a question, it's a bit of a rhyme, it's a bit of something, Lucy? It's a puzzle. It is a puzzle. Well, the feast was going to last for 7 days, and Samson gave them a riddle and says, there was 30 people there, and Samson, 30 verses 1. Samson said, I'm going to give you a riddle. If you get it within the 7 days, I will give you all change of clothes and new shirts and new clothes, everything new. Everybody here, I'll give you a change of clothes and garments and linen. He said, but if you get it right, what did I say there? If they don't get it, Samson had to give all them. If they did get it, Samson had to. If they got it, Samson had to give them. I'm getting all confused at my own riddle, or Samson's riddle. I've not even given the riddle yet. So, it was one person against 30. Who do you think had the better chances? 30 minds all together, or, yeah, the 30. So Samson kind of sold himself a wee bit thinking, 30 against 1. Well, Samson gave them the riddle, and it was something like this. Out of the eater came out meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. Now, you've heard the story. Does that make sense? Out of the eater, what's the eater? The lion came forth meat. What was the meat? Him. Or the honey. The honey, food. And what out of the strong came forth sweetness. And what was the sweetness? The honey. So, they had this feast and they couldn't get it. The 30 minds, they couldn't get it. They're really struggling. And they were so horrible because they didn't want to give Samson all the clothes. They were so horrible that they threatened Samson's new wife and said, if you don't get the answer, we're going to hurt you and your family. You're really bad, really horrible. And so Samson's wife said to Samson, Samson, you've given this puzzle to all my countrymen and you've not even told me. You don't love me. You obviously don't love me if you've not told me. And Samson says, well, do you know what? I haven't told you. I haven't told my mum and dad either. I haven't told anybody. So I haven't told anybody this riddle. Only set it to these people to work out what the riddle is. Well, his wife went on and on, 7 days, and she cried and she says, you don't love me. And eventually on the 7th day, Samson says, you know what? I'll tell you what the riddle is. And he told his wife what the riddle was. And what do you think she did? Isaac? She didn't answer it. Who do you think she told the answer to, but? Penny? 30 men. The 30 men. So it came the last day of the feast, and the 30 men said, we know the riddle, we know the answer. What is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And so that was the answer. But Samson wasn't daft. Samson knew what they'd done to his wife, and they threatened her, and that was the only way they get the answer. So what did Samson have to do now? They got the riddle in the 7 days. What did Samson have to do now for them? Give them all the clothes. So 30 men, all these changes of clothes. So Samson says, no bother, I'll do that. But this was all God's plan. Do you know what Samson did? Samson went down amongst the Philistines and he slew 30 men of the Philistines, of the enemy. And he took their clothes and he gave them. So he fulfilled the riddle. He fulfilled his promise and given the changes of clothes. So this was God starting to work. Because remember, the Philistines, although you think, oh, killed all those men. The Philistines were enemies of God's people. And so Samson, he was good in his promise because he gave the changes of clothes, but because the men were so horrible to his wife and he's threatening his family, then they suffered. And so that's the start of the story of Samson. Then it tells that Samson was so angry that he left. He left his wife for a period, and we'll find out maybe more about that. But remember about Samson. And remember about the start of God working with Samson and working to save his people, the children of Israel, amongst the Philistines.